Hello, my friends, and welcome to today's episode. Today, I am really excited to share this woman that I've been following on Instagram. And I just see her smiling and sharing such a beautiful, lovely life and of health and vitality. And I've asked her to share and come on here, and she's been so gracious, and we are so honored. Lorraine, I'm just excited to have you introduce yourself and share a little bit about who you are and yeah, just anything you want to share about yourself.
So I always say it's a little bit more difficult the older you get because there's so much more to share. So kind of trying to make that summarized is a little bit hard. But I'm Lorraine. I'm from Spain, and I say that because sometimes people have an easier time remembering my name that way. I'm half Spanish, half American. I speak both languages. I've lived with both cultures all my life, all nationalities, everything. And I've mainly made a living with words since I was really young. And by that, I mean translating them, interpreting them orally, writing them in books. I'm a published author. I have edited them as an editor. What else have I done with them? And then, well, with social media, more recently, I've turned them into stories with images and videos. So that's how I've mainly made a living. But I've also been a fitness instructor from a really young age. I started getting interested in sports when I was a teen, like 13. And I started running with my dad. And then I started doing yoga at 13 for my mental health. But it also had an impact on me physically and emotionally. And then I started dancing at 23 when it's supposedly too old to do professionally, but I still went to auditions and all the rest of it, and I did a couple of things that I was paid for, but mostly that gave me a lifetime of enjoyment of dancing and fitness. And I kept on running, and I did injure my hip in a half marathon at 48, and that brought me to yoga again. So there's always a positive to injuries or setbacks. And I came back to yoga, and I don't half half-ass. I don't do things halfway, if you want to edit that out. But so I threw myself into yoga again, and it helped me deal with the teen years of our three kids, and with menopause, with the death of my best friend and my grandmother, and a close call with colon cancer. And then I decided that I was going to get certified as a yoga instructor. And of course, I didn't stop at 200 hours because, again, I don't, do things like a little bit. So I did the 500 hours, and then I stopped short of being a yoga therapist because I had other things to do, like work and make money to pay the bills. And yeah, and then in the last 2 years, I've had a little bit of a hard time because I tore my rotator cuff, and it was a journey of it was hard because I use physicality a lot to deal, as I said, with emotional processing and with a lot of things. And so being limited and the pain, the excruciating pain of that it messed with my mental health. But I found other things to do. So I took up rollerblading again, and I went back to dancing. And then I started a year ago improv theater. And then when I felt more comfortable going back to the gym, I enrolled in the gym again, and I'm doing weight training.
Wow.
And I turned 60 this year, and I was able to do a handstand for my 60th birthday again. So, and the way I make a living now, mainly, even though I am heavy into the physicality parts of wellness, is basically sharing my journey online and being paid by sponsors to share, maybe not just a product, maybe it's an awareness around something like colon cancer or just taking care of yourself. And I really enjoy that.
That is an amazing story and introduction. And wow, there's so many nuggets there. I would love to just dive into a little bit at a time if possible, and just ask, because for the basis of most of the women that that follow and that watch. I know for myself watching you and then the women that I've talked to at midlife and older, we fall into these pits of like, oh, I'm getting older and this is hard and making excuses and obviously you've had your own challenges through life. What would you say is that that underlying help that's continuing to pull you forward, or when did you know that that started, or just share a little bit about how do you keep going?
So I grew up without a mom, and my parents' separation was very traumatic, and it happened when I was 4 or 5. And then my dad remarried, and we kind of a toxic situation in the house. And I don't know, I developed an eating disorder when I was 17, and it lasted almost 20 years. And in the last years it was better, but there was still a lot going on. And somehow I always had this feeling of survival, like I had to survive and thrive. And I don't know where that comes from. I don't know if it comes just from generations of my family being strong and having to, like, my grandparents grew up during the Civil War in Spain and they had to overcome that. And my dad came to the States when he was 17, and he from Spain, and he went to college and got his PhD and became a professor, and he's not even American. And so it's like, I don't know, it's a driving force that I cannot take credit for. And when I was 16 or 17, I bought my first self-help book by Wayne Dyer, Your Erroneous Zones. I will never forget that. I did exercise with books by Diana Nyad, the swimmer, and she had nobody knows now that she had exercise books right back then, but I would do that. And I've always, I say that I've been cursed and blessed at the same time by extreme self-awareness, because it's hard to realize, oh, I have this going on in my life. And it's hard for me to overcome major depressive disorder or an eating disorder or extreme shyness or what have you. But yet I've always been aware to this day of my obsession, my current obsession, or my current thing that is bothering me. But I don't know, I just cannot sit there and let that consume me. I just can't. And for that reason, I say that I cannot take credit for it, because it's something that I think I was born with. And yeah, that's it. I don't, to me, sitting around and doing nothing about something that I know that I can do something about is just not an option.
Yeah.
Like, I can have a bad day. I can spend a whole day in bed, and I do sometimes. But that doesn't mean that I'm not going to the next day say, okay, this is enough, dust myself off and figure out where are we going from here? And how am I going to do that?
Yeah, I love that. It's the mentality and the mindset of just we hit the bumps and there's no stopping us, even though the little blips and the rest periods might happen, it's not the end of the story. So, and thank you for sharing that. I know you did share, just the fact of getting into that feeling of depression, and you mentioned that you have suffered with that.
Yeah.
How would you? Because I work with a lot of women this is a big problem. What would be your biggest tips for getting to find that way forward?
Never stop trying. If I had stopped trying to find solutions to my mental health when I was younger, I would probably not be around. And it took a lifetime until I was 42 to find the right combination of meds that worked for me. So that means that when I was younger, they would try everything on me, from lithium salts, where you have to have your blood tested every couple of weeks to see if you're okay, or, just a bunch of other medications that just didn't agree with me. I could have just stopped and say, okay, well, this isn't working. I went to a number of therapists that were, my God, they needed more help than I did, I think. And I even thought, man, I could write a book about this. Like, there was a therapist that was chain smoking. There was another therapist that wouldn't look me in the eye. There was another therapist who told me that I had to get back the boyfriend that I was depressed about him going away. And that was the thing and I'm like, wait a minute, this is not okay. So yeah, it's like, because a couple of things and 10 things didn't work, it doesn't mean that the 11th or the 30th isn't going to work. So realizing, okay, this didn't work, but why not? And what is the next thing.
Mm.
So I would say keep trying new things.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I could see that it's definitely been a good thing for you. Um, Share with, if you don't mind, sharing a little bit about the fitness, the physical part of your lifestyle, because I know you mentioned dance and yoga and fitness instructor and all those beautiful things. Um, do you feel that that has a uh, big help and component of helping you continue to where you are today?
Definitely, definitely. And I mean, it's not like I haven't had as I and it's funny because when now that I'm 60 and I share my crazy yoga poses or things that I'm able to do because I practice for them, I get things like, "Oh, she's so lucky. She don't have arthritis, or you don't have this, or you're just lucky, right?" And I'm like, man, if you knew everything I've gone through, like from stress fractures on my feet to slip discs to tendonitis in an elbow to 4 times having broken my tailbone to what else have we got going on? My hip is still not 100%, and the torn rotator cuff, and I have Raynaud's syndrome, and I mean I could go on, and everybody has things going on. That's the thing is that if I can't move my leg, I'll move my arm. If I have to cut back on this, I'll go and do that. So I could feel sorry for myself for a little bit and then say, hey, you know what? If we can't do this, listen. I broke my leg when I think I was 16, and I remember running around on a bicycle. And I think back then we wore casts and not just the boots. So, and it was like, I just didn't think of it. I don't see, instead of seeing the limitation, I choose to see what can I do to move past it. And I remember when I was 41, I had a slip disc, and the recovery was 2 years. And I had babies because I was an older mom. So I had my kids at 38 and 40 and 41, almost 38, almost 41. And so at 41, when I had a slip disc, I had 2 babies and I had to do stuff and I had to, live and deal with that pain and that a little bit of immobility. And there was a doctor who wanted me to have surgery. And I said, no. I said, I don't want surgery. And he told me that I had the slip disc because I was 41 and that I was old. And imagine now I'm 19 years older and I still don't feel old. And and I dealt with it in different ways. I did physical therapy. It took me 2 years, and I stopped the cortisone shots. And I said, and nobody could tell that I've had a slip disc. It's all to me. I get, if I don't exercise in some way, I I can feel depressed, and I can feel like if I'm dealing with a tough situation in my life, I know that I am just going to be so much better at it when I'm taking care of my physical expression as well.
Yes. Wow. So powerful. Yeah, the movement is so powerful. It's amazing. And just to hear all the things that you're dealing with though, my brain went, oh my gosh, like you
Well,
don't
people
show it.
look at me and they
Yeah.
don't see that.
No.
It's the thing that I try to share about it sometimes, and it's not so people feel sorry for me, but it's more because, yeah, you don't see this, but this has gone on or is still going on. And I just choose, and again, I am very grateful, and that I think I have good genes. But as I said somewhere in online once, it was, I am lucky that I have legs, yes, but it is up to me to move them.
Yeah.
Not every able-bodied person moves their body. So there, that's it.
Yeah. No, it's very true. Very true. What would be, or I know you've been a writer, which I find fascinating because I love
Yeah.
writing books. I've always loved that too. So I think that's a very similar subject that we have. So congratulations on that. What led you to want to share your story and be so vulnerable and open, both in your written and your social media and everywhere in life?
Well, when I was 30, there were no blogs, so I wrote a book. That's it. I joke that I started blogging 30 years ago when I published and wrote and published that first book in Spain. And it was about my eating disorder. And the reason was that I always knew I wanted to be a writer. I come from a family of communicators, writers, and my father's also a lexicographer. He compiles dictionaries. And I just didn't know what to write about. And I realized I was trying to write a novel that if I didn't tell my story first, nothing else was going to be published and I wouldn't write anything. And so that's what I did. And if I could go back in time, I might have tweaked the way all that happened, because it garnered in Spain national attention. There was so much attention to it in national TV shows and press and all kinds of things, that I relapsed, because to be 30 and in the public eye like that with an issue that you haven't fully overcome, it can be. I opened a PO box because we didn't have email, and I got so many letters, and some of them people were threatening to take their life if I didn't answer their letters, and people accusing me of making money off of their illness, which was my illness. But so all these things, um and I don't know, I enjoy sharing things that could hopefully help someone else. It's cathartic for me. I usually don't share them while I'm going through them. I try to do it after I've processed it. But I did it with books for many years. And then I think because I am so active on social media, I just don't have a book in me right now. I just don't. Like I've had ideas for books and I've pitched them. And then when an agent asked me to flesh it out, I'm like, wait a minute, is this just a blog post? I don't know if I have the. So I identified as an author for 20 years. And then interestingly, like that was very important to me. And now people tell me, hey, if you wrote a book, I would read it. And I'm like, I've written and published 18 books, but I don't only identify as an author. Now I identify as a communicator. And so the reason that I continue to do it online is just an extension of what I used to do. I just did it in a different medium. A lot of people come into social media from being in a corporate world, or maybe it's their side gig or something like that. This is my full-time income. Mm-hmm. And it's been that way for 10 years with my own brand, but 13 years in general. And it's only because that's when social media really took off. I think if social media had been around earlier, I would have embraced it earlier. It was almost like, even though I'm 60, I felt like in my brain, when I think of things I did at 20, I feel like social media was there. Yeah. I have boxes of pictures, and I'm like, who took these pictures? Why do I have pictures of everything I ever did? So it just, I don't know. I love that through social media, you can reach so many more people, and you can reach people who need you, or maybe you need them. Mm-hmm. And I choose to focus on the positive side of social media. Yeah. So, and also social media saved me from, like in 2008, I lost absolutely everything. I was a single mom on welfare. I was 45. I lost all my gigs, absolutely everything. I chose to walk away from a marriage that I had tried everything to save, and it didn't work. But if that hadn't happened, then I wouldn't have gone back to dancing. And in those dance classes, I wouldn't have met someone who gave me work on a blog. And then I wouldn't have learned everything about blogging and SEO and all that. And then I wouldn't have met my current husband, the love of my life. And we've been together for 14 years. And, so the thing is that all the ups and downs of life have a lesson in them, so yeah, that power. I mean, have the good thing is, like when I was so down and out with no money at all and debt, and I had to file for bankruptcy in 2008 or 2009, even though I was poor, because I was honestly, I thought I didn't qualify for food stamps, because I was like, oh, that's for poor people. And then I filled out the thing, and it was like, oh no, I am poor. And for my divorce, I qualified as indigent. And friends of mine were, I'm so sorry. And I'm like, no, that's great. I'm not gonna have to pay anything, and I can get divorced. But at the same time, I signed up to dance classes. Like, who does that? Yeah. I have no problem with self-care, like a zero problem. And if I paid $40, which was a lot of money for me back then. Yeah, now that's how much my nails cost me now. But it's, and I can afford it. But it's like I would run, which is free, lace up and I would do it. I had two little kids, and I would go to a place where a park or something where I could see them. Mommy's going to run, and you're there. And I would run around the pond and what have you, and make sure that I was getting my exercise in for my mental health. And interestingly, my eldest back then was 7, I guess. And one day she said, "Mommy, I think you need to go running." I was either depressed or down or angry. And I'm like, you know what? You're right. But that was great because now it turns out that my kids understand the importance of mental health and of physical wellness as well.
Yes, yeah, they learn by watching. That's definitely a
Mm-hmm.
powerful example. So what about the stage of where you were prior? Because you had a lot that happened before middle age happened and middle age. Did you struggle in any different ways? What did you see as change of like the whole hormone that every all these women
Oh,
are?
that was awful. That was pretty
Mhm.
very awful. I was 51 and I had never felt any symptom. Maybe because I was more concerned about raising my kids and how I was going to get money and just surviving. I did not feel perimenopause coming at me at all. And then at 51, I was already, back on on the saddle and making money as an editor. And, again, I had just married my husband and I was happy and just feeling on top of the world. And then one day I'm like, oh my God, what the hell is this? And the hot flashes, the creepy crawly skin, the mood swings, the dryness, the insomnia, the everything that they tell you you're going to have. I had it and it was like all at once. But it only took me like 3 days to get myself to my OBGYN. As I said, I'm not one to hang out and wait for things to get better, or because I could see how it affected everyone around me. So I went to my doctor and I said, "This is what's going on." And she was now I go to a different doctor, but she was older than me, and I was so happy. And she said, "You're a great candidate for hormone replacement therapy." I asked for the pros and cons. I do not have a history of breast cancer or anything like that, and so I've been on hormone replacement therapy for 9 years, and I'm an extremely happy camper. It didn't get rid of everything, but I learned to cope in other ways. Like with therapy, with again physical exercise, with yoga, with meditation, journaling, and now that I would say I'm mostly on the other side of it. It gets better because I remember one of the things that was so hard for me was the crushing fatigue, like the feeling that a steamroller had just gone over me, and being able to work, and I still work full time and do all the other stuff. But one thing that I've learned to manage is my energy. And I realize that as I get older, my recovery takes longer
Mhm.
than when I was even 5 years ago. So to be mindful of all that I think, is important, and roll with it rather than be like, well, why can't I be like when I was younger? Well, I'm not. That's it. It's there were things when I was younger that I didn't enjoy. I didn't enjoy the insecurity. I didn't enjoy the mental health problems. There's so much that I didn't like about that. And so I don't feel, oh, those were my best days. And I don't even feel like last year was my best year. I feel it hasn't happened yet.
Mm. Yeah, that's powerful. You just said, yes, it's the constant looking forward, not feeling sad about what's behind us. It's what's
Like, for what
Mhm.
reason? Therefore none. It's not gonna, like, and this is someone who grew up and still deals with family members who grew up complaining about their age
Yeah.
and still do. And one of them is my father, and he's a very smart intellectual. I mean, he's sharp as a knife right now, and he's 85 and he still works, and he goes to the gym, and that's going to be me.
Mhm.
But at the same time, he says, oh, I don't recognize myself in the mirror. He doesn't want to take pictures. It's really hard. I don't want to be that person. and
Mhm.
and I think that's a choice.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean that I love every sag and wrinkle and oh, my arms, like, you have to work them out way more than when I was younger to achieve not even the same result. But it's, in the end, there are some things I will maybe work with. Like, it's no secret that I do Sculptra on my face, or that I'll get treatments for my skin. But where does that stop? Like, I certainly am not going to worry about my body, and I'm certainly not covering my arms, and and they're not perfect, but it's like I've realized that I can pick and choose what to take care of, or and
Yeah.
and
Yeah. So what would be your best tips, or your, whether you have a strategy or a step plan or whatever, in the getting through the hormone stage? I know you went on the hormone replacement, but what else has helped you and that you still maybe follow to this day?
Everything I said before, continuing to stay physically active, talking about it. Like my family, my dad, my kids know more about my menopause than they probably ever wanted to. My dad doesn't even know if his wife went through that,
Wow.
but he knows everything about my menopause. I don't know if it's because I'm half Spanish or what it is, but I don't have a really hard time talking about, like, I'm not embarrassed by a lot of things, and I'm not shy. Like, I'm a shy person, but I'm not shy about addressing what others could perceive as weaknesses, because I know we all have those things, like, so why would I be embarrassed? But the point is, I think to maybe just realize that you have more agency over menopause and over aging than you think. Also, that it is up to you to deal with it however the heck you want. I wrote a post many years ago called the Let's Stop the Aging Wars about, there's all this stuff of like, you do this, you're doing Botox and you're not, and you're gray haired and you're not, and you're exercising and you're not, and you're doing HRT and you're not. Like, don't listen to any of that. And you look inside and think, how do I want to address this? What is, and when people say there's nothing, oh, there's nothing out there about menopause, there is. We just choose not to talk about it before it's our time, because why would we want to? Do you want to talk about nursing homes now? No. Do you I mean, do I want to discuss with you, oh, what nursing home am I going to go to? I don't want to hear that until I'm ready to go to the nursing home. And I think it's the same with menopause. Like, it's not that I've talked about menopause for 10 years. And now I'm seeing younger women say, who have followed me for all that time, say, nobody told me this. Yes, I did. I'm one of the people who talked about it. You just didn't want to listen because you weren't there. And that's fine. So I think that the information is there, and it's up to us to really say, what is going on? Let me go address it. But sometimes I feel that, and address it the way I want to. Again, it's not about this is what you have to do. I am a happy camper with HRT. I'm also a very good candidate for it. I hope I never have to go off of it. But if you want something different, I think it's really important to stop that noise that we're getting from all, you can hardly post anything online anymore with 100 people coming at you and even insulting each other over something, which is a very personal decision. So honestly, figuring out what is bothering you the most. My symptoms are not going to be your symptoms, and what kind of person you are, being realistic, because I think, not everyone is like me, who has, like, of course there's days that I don't want to go to the gym or work out, but it's not the norm for me. It's a thing like, let's drink water, let's, do a bunch of other stuff. It's a way of life. But for example, my husband, who of course is not going through menopause, but he doesn't like working out, but he's doing it because he knows that it will impact his present and his future. And he's 59, and he wants to be mobile, and he doesn't want to be hunched over and with his back hurting and all that. So it's like, what are you willing to do? And he goes to the gym 3 times a week for half an hour. For me, that's nothing. But of course, for him, it's enough, or a lot, or more. Like, so I think it's good to be, and it's taken me a whole lifetime to realize this, is that one should always work within one's limits. Like, if you hate exercising, it's very unrealistic to say, I'm going to start this week and I'm going to go 2 hours a day every day. By day 5, you're going to quit. But if you do, like my husband, half an hour 3 days a week, that's much better than nothing, and he's been keeping it up for 10 years.
Wow, that's inspiring because I know a lot of people that don't like it. So and that's the problem. Yeah, you make that decision and it's their priorities. Either
Like
break
work
down.
with you, work with,
Yeah.
when people say you have to be a morning person. I am 60 and I'm still not a morning person. I'm waiting for that time when I'm going to get up really early and enjoy it. And I've still managed to
Mm,
have success in the sense of making a living my entire life, mostly doing what I love and working for myself. You know how, I mean, I was going to say, do you know how hard that is? Do you know, like when I was very young, it wasn't normal to work for yourself. It wasn't normal to telecommute.
mm-mm,
I mean, we didn't have internet.
mm-mm.
So I would use couriers and I would pay phones to call I worked for a voiceover company that for doing movies and stuff, and they didn't think I could work remotely, but I did it. So the thing is, if I could do it then, I can do it now. So what I mean by that is just I knew that I hated so much the idea of having a job that I
Mhm.
was able to pull this off of working for me for 40 years. But if you're someone who needs the structure of a job, maybe don't do yourself the disservice of trying to work for yourself just because everyone is telling you that's the way to do it, because you're going to work more and you need that self-discipline that is just second nature, or you're not going to be a happy person.
So true. Yeah, listen to your own intuition and who you are and what drives you. Yeah, I think that's what most of us are maybe missing in a lot of areas because of all the social media and all the opinions that are out there. Uh, like I said, I was drawn to your energy, your page. You share your truth. I love that because I think there's so much power to that. And I would love to hear uh, your best advice on when someone does. I know the habits are there, but just in that moment of feeling like you've lost just the motivation or you're up against some big struggle that just don't feel like doing the things. What is your best tips on just getting through to the next space?
Feeling the feelings. When I was younger, I would run away from them, and I would run away from them and escape with food, sometimes alcohol, sometimes, oh my God, toxic relationships was a big distractor for me. And now, when I am faced with something that it seems insurmountable, I allow myself to feel the anger, the frustration, the helplessness, the everything. And yoga has been a big part of that. It's not just doing cute poses, it's actually sitting and thinking, maybe I'm going to cry through this whole session of yoga or through this day. By doing that, it seems to me that I have allowed myself to actually feel all that. And only then can I move forward and figure out, okay, I felt it. It was not fun, but I felt it. I didn't die. I'm still here. And now what can I do? What small steps can I do? Can I
Mhm.
take to move forward? And as desperate as some situations might seem, and I've been in a few myself, it's to me, it's a matter of realizing, quite honestly, that first of all, I don't have control over a lot of things. Like if the situation is coming from someone else in our lives who is maybe making poor choices, or but it affects you as a parent or as a sibling or a wife or whatever, it's like I don't have control over that person. I only have control over myself. So working on myself, and as I said, I have thankfully no problem. Like when we're in a conference and people are like, well, when was the last time you gave it a massage? I'm like, yesterday. When was the last time you slept well? Yesterday. When was, so to me, it's second nature. And I know it's not like that for everyone, but actually make a list of the things that you might not be doing to feel better. Like it's great to have, oh, like in a month, I want to have that vacation. Like my husband likes long-term goals. He wants to know that in March, we're going to do this vacation. And he's willing to give up a bunch of stuff before then. For me, it's I need to feel good now too. So I will write a gratitude list. I will, I don't know, go to a movie, or maybe I'll go to the gym, or maybe I will just give myself some grace, and sit with that and realize this is not going to be forever. And when you are a certain age, the good thing about it is that most likely you have had a bunch of struggles already. And if you're still here, you've overcome a bunch of struggles. So the reminder that you're going to be okay, which actually a therapist told me a couple of weeks ago, um, said no matter whether the worst fear that you have happens, she said, people overcome almost anything. You are going to be okay. And I started crying. And it's not that I don't know that, but it's like I needed someone to remind me that I'm going to be okay because I've been okay in the past.
Yeah. Yeah, your story. I love it. I really do appreciate all of this. It's so powerful. It's so it definitely proves all the, not that they're simple, but they're the steps that you've continued to live and
I
share.
think they're simple.
They
I think
are.
it, and but simple is not always easy. That's
True.
the thing,
Mm.
So it could be as simple. I think where people in general maybe miss the mark is that they want to do things perfectly. And I've realized there's just no perfect. Like everything I've ever done in my life, I wasn't prepared for. I honestly wasn't. And but that's how I started doing it.
Yep.
When I went to my first dance class, or when I was Cindy Crawford's interpreter in Spain, and I was young and I was nervous, and I had never done such a thing of being in a press conference with a celebrity and a world celebrity back then. And I said I could do it. I was scared out of my mind, but I still did it. And every time that I've done something, even launching my own website, like I didn't know if it was going to work or not, or I didn't wait for the perfect logo, the perfect anything. I just started doing it, and I was like, I'll get better. And that's just how it is. Just, starting to me is more important than doing it perfectly. And it's a trite cliche, but it's true that done is better than perfect.
Definitely. Very true. So in wrapping all of this amazing information up, what are you now? Because there's so much you've experienced and taken on in your life. What are you now working on? What's the next step? What's the next milestone in Lorraine's vision for the future or the near future?
I am happy to say that I don't know. And the reason I say that is because if you had told me just a year ago that I would be taking theater improvisation classes, and that I would enjoy being on the stage, and that I would now be in a house team, and that I would be actively in that community, I wouldn't have believed you.
Wow.
And just a couple of weeks after now, I joined my first improv class. So the thing is, I don't know what I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. It's interesting that lately, like at least I'm starting to make a list of these things, the things that I was thinking of loosely, but kind of intently, and they happened. And one of them was that I wanted to go to Spain to see my family. I hadn't been in a year, and I kept looking at tickets. And out of the blue, this production company reached out to me, and one of my schoolmates of when I was a kid, she's a celebrity in Spain, like a household name, and they flew me to Spain to go to be in a TV show with her. And I said I want to be there for a week. I was there. I saw my family, I saw my friends. I enjoyed everything thoroughly, and I was like, oh my God, if I manifested this practically, what else can be true? And then I got here, and I had considered being on one of the house teams for the improv theater, but I didn't audition because I thought it was like an insult to people who have been doing it longer. And I got picked anyway.
Wow.
And then, there was another thing that is a little more personal, but, so I'm like, whoa. So when you're kind of in the flow, things are going to show up. Like I can have this plan of, like I have loose things, and I've already had casting calls for a few things that have to do with TV. I don't know if it's going to happen or not, or how it's going to happen, but the fact that I'm putting myself out there and that I'm open to certain opportunities means that they could happen. But I don't have this plan of this is what I'm going to do. And because I also enjoy the ride of And I think that's why I like improv so much, that when you get up on that stage, you don't know what's going to happen. And life is like that.
That's so true. Yeah. Who knows? Who knows? Yeah, I know there's
We're
something
making it up
about,
as we go, like honestly, it's not
yeah, we could set a
like you can
goal,
have
but
all the plans, but it's like I didn't expect that I was going to tear my rotator cuff, and I didn't, but then this led me to all these other things, and so it's like sometimes I don't want to plan too much, because it's like, obviously I have some structure, but I also have a lot of spontaneity, and I think that's what keeps me energetic
yes,
and wondrous, and just open.
yes. No, there's magnetic. It's just you have a very magnetic energy, and I love that. So,
Thank you.
all right, Lorraine. Well, I'm going to share in the notes for the today's show how to find you, how to follow you. Do you want to share where you share most? I know I found you on Instagram, but what other avenues that people can find you?
Well, if it's funny, because if someone would, for a long time, like I've had my website since I was 31, so that's like 29 years I've had my website. And if you Google my name, Lorraine Ladish, you'll find all kinds of things, and choose what you like the most: YouTube or blog or Instagram or whatever.
All the things, Lorraine. Well, yes, this has been an absolute pleasure. I've just been just eating it all up, and I know that this is
Me
going to just
too.
inspire more and more women. And I appreciate your time, and everything that you've gone through have led you to this space and time, and the ability to share your journey. So I know that you have so much more to give, and life is going to continue to just bless you and move forward because of that, what you put into it. So I thank you very much, Lorraine. Was there anything else, any magical message or anything else that you would like to end off today's chat with?
I don't know. I just think that we're all stronger than we think, honestly. Like Winnie the Pooh said, or Christopher Robin to Winnie the Pooh. It's like, we really are. We really are. And challenges really are what can make us more resilient. Because a lot of us go through very horrible things in life, and if not everyone, but it's how you end up dealing with them that matters. And some people are more resilient than others, and I would describe myself as resilient. Like, I can talk to you about anything, and there's nothing that even, and I just noticed this a few days ago when, in improv, where you do check-ins to see where you're at emotionally, and we talk about boundaries. What boundaries do you have? What do you not want addressed in the class, or even physical boundaries? And I'm happy to say that I don't have any, almost, like, and that the teacher was explaining that some people have more resilience than others, and maybe we have gone through the same trauma, but I can talk about it or address that in a scene, and the other person cannot, because they're at a different space, and I can't really take credit for that, but we're all stronger than we think. That's all.
Yeah, yeah, to lean into that, and yeah, just be willing to live. Yes, I think that
Yeah.
you've said it all, and I am very, very honored with that. And yeah, I can't wait to keep following you. To keep following your story.
Same.
Yeah.
I love your content. I
Oh,
love your
thank
content.
you. Thank you, Lorraine. Well, everyone, I know this has been an amazing interview, and I thank you for your time. And I know this was amazing, and I will share Lorraine's, just her information below if you wanted to look that up. And yeah, so looking forward to following you more, and have a beautiful rest of your day.
You